Essay 299, Joint Audit of Financial Statements. The name of this essay has been revised. Earlier it was audit responsibilities of joint auditor. Now it is Joint Audit of Financial Statements. Okay. This standard is broadly categorized into three parts. First is audit planning and allocation of work. Second is responsibility of joint auditor. And third is audit conclusion and reporting. Okay. Starting from audit planning and allocation of work. Before starting the three categories, first we should know that what is a joint audit. A joint audit is an audit of financial statements of an entity by two or more auditors appointed with the objective of issuing the audit report. Such auditors are described as joint auditors. Okay. So starting with audit planning and allocation of work, development of audit plan. In developing the joint audit plan, the joint auditor shall first identify division of audit areas and common audit areas. Audit areas also known as specified audit areas and common audit areas amongst the joint auditors that define the scope of work of each joint auditor. Ascertain the reporting objective of the engagement to plan the timing of audit and the nature of communication required. Consider and communicate among all joint auditors the factors that in their professional judgment are significant in directing engagement team's effort. Consider the result of preliminary engagement activities. Ascertain the NTE of resources necessary to perform the engagement. So, the development of audit plan have basically 5 points. First is to identify division. Second is to ascertain the reporting objective. Third is to consider and communicate among all joint auditors the factors of professional judgment and significant in directing engagement team's effort. And fourth is consider the result of preliminary engagement activities. And fifth is ascertain the nature timing of resources necessary to perform the engagement. And then comes the allocation of work. Joint auditors should by mutual discussion divide the audit work among themselves. The division of work would usually be in terms of audit of identifiable units or specified areas. In some cases, due to the nature of business of entity under audit, such a division of work may not be possible. In such situation, the division of work may be with the reference to items of asset or liabilities or income or expenditure. Certain areas of work, owing to their importance or owing to the nature of work involved, would often not be divided and would be covered by all the joint auditors. Okay. Then comes the documentation of work allocated. The work allocation document shall be signed by all joint auditors and same shall be communicated to TCWG. Documentation of allocation of work helps in avoiding any dispute or confusion which may arise among the joint auditors regarding the scope of work to be carried out by them. Communication of allocation of work to the entity helps in avoiding any dispute or confusion which may arise between the entity and the joint auditors. Okay. Then comes the responsibility of joint auditors. In respect of audit work divided among the joint auditors, each joint auditor shall be responsible only for the work allocated to such joint auditor, including proper execution of the audit procedures. All joint auditors shall be jointly and severally responsible for audit work which is not divided among the joint auditor and is carried out by all joint auditors. Decision taken by all joint auditor under audit planning in respect of common audit areas concerning the NTE of the audit procedure to be performed by each of the joint auditors. Then the matters which are brought to the notice to the joint auditor by any one of them and on which there is an agreement among the joint auditors. Then examining the financial statement of the entity comply with the requirement of relevant statutes. And then presentation and disclosure of financial statement as required by applicable FRF. Ensuring that the audit report complies with the requirement of relevant statutes, the applicable standards on auditing and the other relevant pronouncements issued by ICAI. It shall be the responsibility of each joint auditor to determine the NTE of audit procedure to be applied in relation to area of work allocated to said joint auditor. It is the individual responsibility of each joint auditor to study and evaluate the prevailing system of internal control and assessment of risk relating to areas of work allocated to each such joint auditor. Then comes the audit conclusion and reporting. This is also important. Reporting requirements. Joint auditors are required to issue common audit report. Joint auditors are required to issue common audit report. However, in case of any disagreement with regard to the opinion or any matters to be covered by the audit report, they shall express their opinion in a separate audit report. A joint auditor is not bound by the views of majority of joint auditors regarding the opinion or matters to be covered in joint audit report. In case of separate reports, the audit report issued by joint auditor shall make a reference to the separate audit report issued by other joint auditor. Such reference shall be made under the heading Other Matter paragraph as per SA 706. Review of work by joint auditor. Each joint auditor is entitled to assume that the other joint auditors have carried out their part of audit work and the work has actually been performed in accordance with the essays. It is not necessary for a joint auditor to review the work performed by other joint auditors. Each joint auditor is entitled to assume that the other joint auditor have brought to the said joint auditor's notice any departure from applicable FRF or significant observation that are relevant to the responsibilities noticed in the course of the audit. So this was Essay 299, Joint Audit of Financial Statements. One question which is important and is covered in RTP is factors to be considered in development of joint audit plan. So keep that in mind.